now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's cross over to our Lagos studio and speak with Arise analyst Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
Good morning, Charles and Yolanda. How are you guys from Lagos?
Could you imagine? I mean,
how are things going over there? Sorry, Charles.
Fantastic. Bye. I'm in Lagos.
Thank you so very much. We feel you.
Yes, I know Abuja is missing me.
Absolutely. Do come back soon.
Okay, I will. All right, for today is from Lagos. Well, to look at the papers with us this morning, we have Chuks Akunda. He is the executive director of Authority newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with ThisDay newspaper. In ThisDay, our 30th Commemoration Awards, ThisDay celebrates class, glamour, grit, resilience. I mean, the big story for ThisDay newspaper yesterday was 30 eventful years on the newsstand with an award night honoring high-achieving individuals in our society. It was a star-studded event, as you can imagine. When Prince Ndukwu Obaigben, the publisher of ThisDay, sent you an invite, you have to show up. So we have, a roll call of who is who, was there, from governors to titans in the banking industry, and business leaders, fashion moguls, music elites, you name it, everybody was there. And Chus, you are also an alumni of ThisDay. You can, go ahead and comment on what you think about this momentous occasion.
Very, very impressive. I'm proud to be part of the ThisDay family. I joined ThisDay in 1999, and that event changed my life forever for good. ThisDay has always been a trailblazer. ThisDay was the first newspaper I recall to go color. We used to print the color pages from Abuja and, move the papers down to the south. And ThisDay was the first paper to actually go digital. I remember in 2000 when the Duke, as we fondly call him, introduced computers on ThisDay, and a lot of people resisted that move. For them, they wrote longhand and faxed their stories. So it's always an honor to be associated with ThisDay, and I was very, very happy. 30 years of wonderful, beautiful journalism. Congratulations once again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. The chairman of Guardian newspaper, Maiden Hebrew, was there. She also received the Lifetime Achievement Award, and she said it in front of everybody that yes, Guardian is a competitor, but ThisDay is the leader in the industry, and everybody was wow. It's refreshing to see a competitor, say something like that. And also, can we talk about Diana Ross? We had some performers, but Diana Ross was the top of it. That woman, is 80. It was unbelievable how, she pulled off a stunning show at her age, and, everybody was wowed. I was thrilled. Growing up, you heard the music of Diana Ross, and she gave an amazing performance. Charles, Yolanda, you guys can jump in.
I first knew about Diana Ross, I think, when I was about 8 years old. I mean, of course, my father had a collection of, pop albums, and the connection with Michael Jackson was what endeared her to me. I enjoyed her music. Over time, well, she kind of faded off the social scene for a while, and I was actually surprised to see that at 80, she has aged so well. She's still very agile, still very fit, and still able to perform at that level. I think she added a lot of glitz and glamour to an event that was already glamorous anyway, but I mean, she was really the icing on the cake. And yesterday, all eyes were on that event. All eyes were glued to Arise TV to see what was going on. and seeing Diana Ross was a very refreshing difference.
Absolutely, and I think that was such a stunning performance, and I must commend her, just as the others have, concerning her age, to still be able to perform in such a timeless way. That way is beautiful to see. Everyone, as you can see on your screens, is up on their feet and dancing and cheering and singing their old favorites. It was a beautiful show. It was a beautiful performance. Well done to her, well done to ThisDay, well done to Arise.
I mean, I would say that for Diana Ross, I would like to be like her when I grow up.
I know. Well, congratulations once again to ThisDay. And we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper. Trump presidency, U.S. aid suspension may cost Nigeria $1 billion in health funding, others yearly. There's a detailed graphic by Guardian here on where these monies were previously plugged into malaria, vaccines, HIV, public health. I mean, if President Trump does cut some of this aid, not only to Nigeria and some other African countries, we'll have to find alternative sources of funding for these projects. I mean, there are two ways to look at this.
Yes.
It may be a sudden, cut that comes as a shock and require a bit of adjustment. On the other hand, it may be a good step towards less dependency for African countries. They will have to sufficiently, they will have to be sufficient for themselves, and this requires some years of recalibrating as well as thinking out of the box and reprioritizing government revenue and spending. And this reminds me of Dambisa Moyo's book Dead Aid, which he wrote way back in 2009. Some 16 years, it is still so relevant. Chooks.
Only necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. And you see, where you do not, I mean, you don't sell ice to Eskimos. I'm sure Eskimos would rather you give them heaters, and people in the desert would rather you give them refrigerators and air conditioners. It's high time we stopped this feeding bottle mentality. And I'm sure, like you said, every disappointment, there could be silver lining in every disappointment. Yes, like you said, rightly said, it could be sudden. Yes, but then, we have to also sit back and actually adjust. It's going to put a lot of strain on our health budget, no doubt. But then, they say when the going gets tough,
the tough get going.
Well said. I think it seems a bit dire for us here in Nigeria, particularly when we see the challenges the health sector is facing. Look at the number of doctors that are leaving the shores of this country for greener pastures elsewhere. So this aid has been very, very essential, very helpful as far as the healthcare delivery is concerned. Now, when you cut out the aid, then I shudder to think about what the consequences will be. And that's until we're able to get our priorities right and start prioritizing healthcare and medications and treatment and all that, as well as, upgrading our hospitals up to globally accepted standards. But cutting that aid, I think the consequences will be dire unless our leaders show the political will to deliberately and intentionally upgrade healthcare and prioritize it in this country.
Perhaps this is the push that Nigeria needs.
Go ahead, Yolanda. I was going to say that, African countries have all it takes to be self-sufficient. And maybe this provides an opportunity to remove that feeding bottle and do what you need to do.
Yes, I was just agreeing with with your sentiments, actually, and those of Mr. Akuna, by saying that this is the push that Africa probably needs, Nigeria more specifically. It's a Herculean task. It's a very, very big, sudden cut, but hopefully we're able to have a mixture of improvising and strategy all at the same time.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Daily Sun this morning, Obi rejects coalition for purpose of only grabbing power in 2027, as Atiku insists Nigeria's democracy at crossroads. The former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi implies here that power should not be just for the sake of power. And this is why the country is collapsing, he explained. Public officers abandon the responsibilities that come with gaining power and talk about irrelevancies. He says he will not be part of any coalition that is only for the sole purpose of taking power. True talk here, Chooks. There's little or no actual governance that goes on, not in all cases, but in many cases. People are more involved in needless battles rather than focusing on what matters to the people.
Yes, I think Obi is right, but then you see, they say seek ye first political power, and then every other thing will be added to it. You see, of what point is it if you contest elections and don't win in this part of the world? You know, you win first, then we can talk about how to lead well later. It happened in 2015, where there was this amalgam of political parties, CPC and the rest, you know, came together to actually wrestle power from PDP, and we saw the consequences. You know, Buhari, because Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari, is somebody who has this political fixation with those he knows, and then we saw how CPC members actually held with the long end of the stick, of the political stick, you know, giving APC, ACN, former ACN members the short end. And then we've seen the reversal now that President Tinubu's in power. So I think that's why we'll be saying that. But, you know, it's usually easier to talk. You know, talk is cheap, they say. But like I said, politicians will first want to seek to grab power first, and then other things, you know, fall in place later.
I was actually going to say that
all right. New
Obi's
Telegraph
comment. Sorry, I thought Obi's comment was more like a broadside aimed at the All Progressives Congress. You know, that coalition made up of ACN, some APGA members, and of course leaders of the CPC, ANPP, and some dissidents from the People's Democratic Party itself, all coming together with the sole purpose, because these were strange bedfellows, as it were. And we also how it played out after they were able to secure, you know, the cherry. Like Chooks did say, it was all about those who were close to the president at that time. And I guess that's what Mr. Obi has been talking about all this time. It's not about just grabbing power, but it's about the focus being on delivering quality service to the people. But of course, you know, get the power first, and then you can do whatever it is that needs to be done.
Right. A New Telegraph, Monarch's intervention. Afe Babalola drops criminal charges against Farotimi. This report details how the Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, led other Ekiti monarchs to plead with Are Afe Babalola to drop the criminal charges he instituted against human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi. And these back channels worked. The charges have been dropped. Chooks, Mr. Babalola could have continued this case if he wished. At the same time, he already lost in the court of public opinion. It was interesting to see the amount of support in favor of Farotimi, even when Babalola also had a case, to pursue.
Yes, it was like typically like winning the war. Winning the battle but losing the war. Like you said, in the court of public opinion, it was very clear that Afe Babalola, lost. He lost very woefully in the court of public opinion. Yeah, he could have won in the court of law, but then it was an ill wind that at the end of the day was going to blow nobody any good. And this war, this legal war of attrition, was to last for a very, very long time. And the more it lingered, the more damage, the more damage the legal luminary was set to suffer. But it also shows us the role of traditional rulers in Nigeria. The Ooni of Ife, many thanks to him, is able to, galvanize, assemble traditional rulers in the Belgarian states. I mean, states of the warring titans, and they were able to actually intervene to save Afe Babalola and Farotimi a lot of trouble.
Well, hopefully that has been laid to rest and it will die down. We also have the Punch this morning. Afenifere can others oppose push for Sharia in Southwest. Regional focus should be on death, not religion, says Yoruba group. Muslims, Christians differ. Christian and Muslim leaders yesterday clashed over the planned inauguration of Sharia arbitration panel across Southwest states of Ogun, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, Oyo, and Lagos by the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. The Muslims said there's no going back on this decision to set up a panel to adjudicate and resolve issues among Southwest Muslims. Omar, the Sharia Council had moved to establish an arbitration panel in Oyo town to sit on matters relating to Muslims. This was opposed by the government and other leaders. Following this opposition, the panel inauguration has been suspended indefinitely. I mean, Charles, where do we begin? Religion is always a sensitive matter. The Southwest has always prided itself as a region where these two religions coexist peacefully. Many families from that part of the country have both Muslims and Christians in the same family. So it's really tricky. You want to be careful so this doesn't get out of control. What do you think?
Those pushing that agenda, I really wonder what they hope to achieve. The question is, even in the north, which has a very large Muslim population, how effective has Sharia been in terms of implementation and in terms of the results? But well, somebody just wants to hop on the bandwagon for whatever reason. But like you said, in the Southwest particularly, there's a very, very fine balance between the two religions, and both Christians and Muslims, it's very common to find them in one family, the father Christian, the mother Muslim, and then the children choose wherever they want to go. So where would be the place of Sharia in the Southwest? I really, really don't understand. But whoever is pushing that agenda for whatever reason, well, the results are very clear. The panel has been suspended, and I am very sure it might just die a very natural death, because it will be very, very difficult to implement that kind of project where they want to implement it. Good luck to them.
Well, Chuks, some would say there are a substantial number of Muslims in the Southwest, so they need their Sharia.
Yes, like states like Ogun State, states like Osun State, and even Oyo State has got considerable number of Muslims. And if we have customary courts and have customary courts of appeal, why not Sharia? It's a way of life. Because I know that Muslims, when they want to get married, we go to courts and we go to registry, we go to churches to get married. But Muslims prefer to do their weddings, their nikah, their own weddings, their own way. So a culture is a way of life of a people. So if they feel that this is what they want, we should also realize that it's a question of choice. Christians will not be compelled to actually be dragged before the Sharia court. So if two Muslims say they want education, the Muslim way,
there'll be a court
yes,
to accommodate them.
Exactly, there should be.
Well, we'll be watching that, so I think there's going to be a lot of fallout coming from that in the near future. Let's move on to the international headlines. Daily Graphic. Financial indiscipline rocks MMDAs in Ghana. 10-year audit reveals 242.84 million Ghana cedis in irregularities. MMDAs is the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies of Ghana. This is in regard to a 10-year assessment of the Auditor General's report on the accounts of the MMDAs. These irregularities were built up over time, says this report. Yolanda, what a scandal right there. At least this revelation provides a chance to clear out the mess, as well as make sure that it doesn't go on.
Yes, well, what can I say? These practices have led to significant financial losses and have hindered development projects at the local government level. So I think authorities are calling for stricter oversight and accountability measures to address all that has been going on. And I'm sure that they're working towards the right direction.
Well, they're not the only ones that have problems. We have similar problems in Nigeria as well.
I wanted to point that out, but I thought to stick to the Ghana news.
All right. Thanks for being careful. And let's look at the Citizen newspaper. Land Act. What now for shaking GNU? Anger over the Land Appropriation Act bill President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law. It has pushed the DA to the brink of defecting from the government of national unity. Questions have popped up on whether this will open the door for the EFF and Jacob Zuma's MK party to grab power. From all indications, you learn that President Ramaphosa and his team probably did not envisage the level of blowback that will come from this act. Land is a touchy subject, especially in a country where it was seized by force by white people from the black indigenous population, and this for centuries caused apartheid, poverty, deprivation, discrimination, and now we're here.
And not just to talk about, the backlash that they're facing, but as well the internal turmoil that is being faced amongst them in their parties. I think that they are grappling with how to, salvage the situation. And I think Charles and I were speaking about a similar incident earlier in the last week, when we were talking about was it Limpopo, Charles? There's also some land tussles going on over there.
Exactly.
And I think this just ties in together. And it's not a good look for Cyril at the moment, because I think he's been in the news quite a bit this week concerning not so great issues.
The issue of land can be very touchy, particularly in the southern part of Africa. Remember, Robert Mugabe did use it to cement his status as liberator in Zimbabwe some years back. Yes. But we all know how that panned out, and it just wasn't a flattering result at all. Zimbabwe, a very agrarian economy, and all that land grabbing and redistribution which was done, very ill-advised and, very arbitrarily ended up impacting very negatively on Zimbabwe's economy.
To this day.
Up till now. And so if South Africa is going to tread that path, then, Ramaphosa and co have to be very, very careful.
Yes.
Well, Zimbabwe wasn't land grabbing, it was land redistribution.
You have to grab before you redistribute it. And it was also arbitrarily done. So in South Africa, they're saying it will not only affect the white people, it will also affect the black people. So It's a developing story. We'll be hearing more about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's look at Daily Express. A bold photo of an elderly man on the front page there. One of the survivors of Hitler's extermination camp in Germany. The headline there, King heads world in making Auschwitz liberation 80 years on. A quote from King Charles: "It is a moment when we recall depths to which humanity can sink when evil is allowed to flourish, ignored for too long by the world." I mean, this quote is so apt, but beyond the Holocaust, there's so many evils the world ignored and continues to ignore for centuries, whether it's modern-day slavery, effects of centuries of slavery, unjust wars, genocide, imperialism, exploitation of resources in Africa that leads to environmental destruction and displacement of people. It just seems the world doesn't learn as we continue to make these mistakes too.
Yes, very, very interesting. And it shows the role of how humans have helped to actually ruin the world, and how we also help to fix the world, to heal the world. It's very important that we're able to remember what has happened in the past, and how the lessons to learn therefrom, and how to forge, to make the world a safer and better place for us all.
Well, it's at this point that we would like to say thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for the incisive analysis of our front page stories. And thanks so much to our guest, Chuks Akuna, for your contributions as well. Oh, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.